You're Liv, and I'm Elliot. I'm Liv too. What up? This is going to be as succinct as I can try and be, episode of a super trendy, common paradigm, label, character judgment, affliction, otherwise known as narcissism. And I'm going to try not to speak too much off the top of my head about it. I tried this before and then I spoke like an hour. And if you watch that, you'll undoubtedly learn something about yourself from me to you, because we're not so different. But what I will say as like an introduction or like general theme is the difference between a narcissist and having narcissistic tendencies is the same difference between being an empath and having empathic tendencies. You are what you do. And that's allowed to change. There are those though that by virtue of you getting better at whatever you do have gotten really good at being cruel. And it's not an accident that that type of behavior is so proliferate in the decaying of like our social glue, because we live in a cultural paradigm that isn't trying to be bad or be good. It's just trying to be confusing, because the only thing that's evil is, and the only thing that allows evil is keeping me away from you. Like, keep people separate. Don't let them speak the same language. Get them to identify with things that are arbitrarily different and they have no control over, like which country they're born in, or what gender they were born into, or the color of their skin. Sports team they like, if they like sports, if they don't. I'm a plumber, I'm an electrician. Just anything that makes people not see each other as one and the same, or different expressions of one and the same, and thusly complementary, as basically separate from that self-evident truth of nature. It makes no sense, and then you want things to make sense. So the popular conditioning is, if something doesn't make sense, ask an authority, and they'll tell you. Because the author of life is you, and when you give that to anyone else, that's how you live your life by somebody else's rules. And that's neither here nor there. It starts to get energetically complex. I would say the only almost absolute is the truth, which is not everything has a soul, or not everything has a soul. It just really depends on what you mean. So this sofa has a soul. It's the soul of the sofa. In that way, narcissists have souls. My sofa has no soul. It's a sofa. In that way, narcissists are soulless. And the cultivation of a soul hinges really only on one thing, and that's like solar integrity. So narcissism, in a way, can be seen as an affliction of consciousness fragmentation. But I refuse to absolve cruel behavior, except when I mean that everything is absolved. Because everything is love, and on the spectrum of less and more, loving through. This book, it's called It Smektalka. No? It's The Alchemist. It's very popular, especially in the spiritual community. When did I read it for the first time? I don't remember. A while ago. I think I was a young adult. It's interesting because by the time I was a young adult, I've read hundreds of books. And it's cool. But things find you when they find you. And I think that it's super interesting that the prologue of this very popular book is often overlooked. And it, like a prologue could, it almost sets the stage for the story of The Alchemist, which is truly the story of the ability to transmute. So I'm going to read first the prologue, and then I'm going to read something I wrote, and then I'm going to leave you. Prologue to The Alchemist, as translated by Clifford E. Landers. The alchemist picked up a book that someone in the caravan had brought. Leafing through the pages, he found a story about Narcissus. The alchemist knew the legend of Narcissus, a youth who knelt daily beside a lake to contemplate his own beauty. He was so fascinated by himself that one morning he fell into the lake and drowned. At the spot where he fell, a flower was born, which was called the narcissus. But this is not how the author of the book ended the story. He said that when Narcissus died, the goddess of the forest appeared and found the lake, which had been freshwater, transformed into a lake of salty tears. "Why do you weep?" the goddess asked. "I weep for Narcissus," the lake replied. "Ah, it is no surprise that you weep for Narcissus," they said. Goddesses, plural. "For though we always pursued him in the forest, you alone could contemplate his beauty close at hand." "But was Narcissus beautiful?" the lake asked. "Who better than you to know that?" the goddesses said in wonder. "After all, it was by your banks that he knelt each day to contemplate himself." And the lake was silent for some time. Finally, it said, "I weep for Narcissus, but I never noticed that Narcissus was beautiful. I weep because each time he knelt beside my banks, I could see, in the depths of his eyes, my own beauty reflected." What a lovely story, the alchemist thought. What a lovely story indeed. Because like love, it is so rife with opportunities for interpretation. We have the boy Narcissus, whom was so consumed, addicted, right, derived such sense of self-necessity so as to need or have something fulfilled by seeing himself. Seeing himself, right? He's not doing anything. He's like seeing himself, see himself. That he had a commitment daily of pursuing something that didn't move. Now, one day in accident, but perhaps also by inevitability, he fell in the lake. And when he fell in the lake, he didn't float. He didn't swim. He drowned. Now, spending so much time at this freshwater lake, Narcissus never learned how to swim. And the same spot that he essentially groomed through his kneeling, and from which he fell, when he did, a flower bloomed. And a rose by any other name would smell just as sweet. So naming it after him is neither here nor there, except that a thing's name is energetically also an aspect of its root. This flower did not sprout and bloom every day that Narcissus came and then went away. Life was sparked when Narcissus essentially fell victim to his own narrow view. And so what is nature trying to say by making something beautiful bloom when something beautiful basically self-destructs? Or perhaps it's nature's way of conveying that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And to behold any one thing is to not behold more. And the primacy of beauty is the primacy of truth. And so the flower bloomed not out of victory or consequence or judgment, or even like a morbid expression of like, haha, you thought you were beautiful. Now, this is beauty. Nor, you were beautiful and it's tragic. So now that you've died, so now here's this flower as the fullest or a mere pale reflection of the beauty that was you. I think that that flower bloomed less as a result of the loss of Narcissus and more just because at that spot, that flower was always going to bloom. And when Narcissus stopped covering that spot and weathering it and shading it from the sun, then what was always meant to be there appeared. And in this case, magically, because fuck, it was overdue. And then we've got the goddesses who speak singularly, which I think is fascinating. And telling us something deeper. And the lake. It's like the lake became sour from sadness, because that's why we cry, salty tears at loss. And I think if I would arrive at this point a little more saliently, a little more swiftly, I think that the lake was Narcissus too. Because it kind of sounds quite sweet and contemplative. You know, he's like, oh, I didn't even realize Narcissus is beautiful because I could see my own beauty reflected in his eyes. And the eyes are the window into the soul. And when you do look into the eyes of beautiful, you do see beautiful reflected back at you. For a thing is only as beautiful as you can perceive beauty to be, and there is no beautiful that exists outside of you. But it's telling, I think, to have no thought or feeling the lake, to question Narcissus's beauty, which was evidently, commonly held if more than one goddess of the forest agreed, and even went so far as to pursue him just to catch a glimpse. So, in discussing this with you and asking questions, examining possibility, I think that this is a lovely story because of love. Love is every because. Because upon, the superficial reflection, it's not immediately apparent, but the lovely moral of the story is the separation of being blind to the truth, being blind to the truly beautiful. Because Narcissus, the boy, was irresponsible and vain. Like he had nothing else to do. And this might be not so nice, but if you've met me, then I'm not nice. Kind, but not nice. if everyone so vain and useless truly could quietly fall into a lake, the world would be better for it. That's so mean. Oh shit! And it's on the internet forever now. Forever, I don't say anything that I don't mean. And I love being mistaken, but not misunderstood. So yeah, when all you see is yourself, uh, it like, oh, that leads, that's a short path to ruin. A freshwater lake turned salted. A young boy's life wasted before it was taken. And the irrepressibility that is the truth of beauty and its inevitability blooming. Plus whatever you got from that. I love hearing and reading anything that might be interesting to you that I didn't see it like. If you feel so inclined, please share. Now, this is what I'm going to read to you, a reply to a comment. A reply as a comment from a survey from a YouTuber who's really, really lovely. She goes by Pisces Moon, I think 1111. She does tarot, like a real potent soul. Like she's got such a wellspring of a sacred kind of gorgeous. I really appreciate her. And she basically did a survey of like, if someone, abuses you, like, and then, comes back and says that they've changed, what do you do? There's like 4 options. And I can't remember them all, but there was like, or what the words were exactly, but essentially it was like, if they said, if they said they changed, and then I'm going to believe them. I'm going to give it a try. If and then like I forgive them, and then but like they hurt me, so, and that's never okay. So no, I don't want them to be part of my life. Yes, but only to get revenge or something like that. And then some other one, it's another variation that might just be so far outside my own like thinking that I don't remember it. Anyways, I was like, obviously it's like they've changed, good for them. Like I might forgive them, I like whatever that option was, because I fear of myself. But you're definitely you're just not going to be able. No, move right along. There's lots of people in the world. Like, it's not okay that you abuse me, and it would be stupid, basically, to trust that you won't abuse me again. Fuck that. And I thought for sure that would be the majority. I mean, come on. And it wasn't. It wasn't. I don't even think it was second. It might have been like third. A four. The first was like, if they said they changed, I would say, I would take it back. I was, and like, I was in a bit of like I was in a mood. You know, how these waves go. I was healing some karma. So I'm just going to read this, and then I think that'll be it. I hope that it helps you. Wow. Whatever. Pardon my mood, because I'm going to be frankly rude. So many stupid people. The majority would take them back if they changed. LOL. That's the majority who were abused, and the abusers left you. Anyone that knowingly and intentionally hurts you are entitled to life, sure, just not around you. There's no way, pick and choose. They didn't abuse you and not abuse you. That's like saying, I don't breathe except when I'm inhaling or exhaling. No one is abused once. Abuse is analogous to love, but not the opposite or the same. Loving you is all the time, and mistakes or errors are plain as day. Abusing you is all the time, less or less more, but always. Because that's what you are to them. Maybe you're special, and they just love to beat on you. But I bet that everyone and everything makes them feel inadequate. So they'll bully anything that doesn't make them afraid, which is everything. So that's why they make others afraid of them. It's not compassion or understanding to take them back. This is not a soap opera. They are not a surprise, good twin brought back to life. Take them back, and you are being awful and dispassionate to yourself, your spirit, and your soul. Understanding is getting it. They are mean and are not entitled to punish you for anything. But if you think you deserve it and would rather be abused than uncover your self-hatred to discover your own real worthiness of love, then go for it. Last point. Love isn't a commodity. It's not a thing you have to give out to whom you choose. Love either flows through you or it doesn't. That, friends and family, is what you get to choose. Love either flows through you or it doesn't. Is there love flowing there, or is there not? I love you doesn't mean loving. I shared this with a friend recently, and I'll share it again with you. Love, love, love is a way to describe the past. That was love. It's alive. You know, like I love you. Except I love you. You can't call anything you want love. Because too often, narcissists or just cruel ass fucking people use that word because they know if they use it, uh, it they can use it to control you. And you are worth more than that. You are worth everything. You are lovely. This was my best attempt to be succinct. Truth be told, though, there's no quick and easy answer. When you see others perform quickly, it's because of doing things slowly with lots of practice. Quickly comes from knowing. Quickly comes from taking a long time. It's never okay for others to beat up on you. And only when you really let that become you, can you like heal that it's never okay to beat up on yourself. And speaking from as someone that's been not good enough in my own view and healed from that illusion or disillusion. It's not your fault you think so, but you can change. It may take time, but time is the is that's been given you. So give it back to. I do love you. It's the only reason I'm here. Is to prove how true that is. And the self-evident. You choose. You choose what's in your life and what you perceive and what things mean. And I mean, I love you.